Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the moonlit streets of ancient Athens, where the air hums with secrets and the cobblestones gleam under a silver sky. Picture yourself standing in a quiet alley, the Parthenon looming in the distance, its marble glowing faintly. Your shadow stretches long and thin across the ground, swaying gently, though you're standing still. It's just a trick of the light, right? Or maybe it's something the ancient Greeks knew, something they feared. You might not survive this tale unscathed, but let's see how brave you are. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and drop a comment with your city and local time. I love knowing where you're listening from as we dive into this eerie journey. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're walking through Athens, the year is roughly 400 BCE, and the night is thick with the scent of olive oil and dust. The city is alive, even at this hour-distant laughter from a symposium, the clink of pottery, the murmur of philosophers debating under torchlight. But your attention is elsewhere. Your shadow, cast by a flickering oil lamp on a nearby wall, seems wrong. It's too sharp, too defined, like it's been carved into the stone. You take a step, and it follows, but with a slight delay, as if it's deciding whether to obey. Your heart skips. The Greeks, you see, didn't trust their shadows. They believed these dark twins were more than mere absence of light. They were fragments of the soul. Tethered to you, but not entirely yours. Historically, the ancient Greeks were obsessed with duality, body and soul, light and dark. Their myths often spoke of shades, the ghostly remnants of the dead, lingering in the underworld. Shadows to them were a step too close to those shades, a reminder of mortality. But there's a stranger detail, one rarely mentioned. Some Greeks thought shadows could act independently under certain conditions, like during a lunar eclipse. When the gods' attention wavered, scholars still debate whether this belief stemmed from religious fear or early observations of optics, but the dread was real. You pause in the alley, glancing at your shadow again. It's taller now, though the lamp hasn't moved. A chill crawls up your spine, not from the night air, but from the certainty that you're being watched. Not by someone, but by it. You laugh nervously. Surely it's just your imagination, right? Like when you thought your laundry pile was a ghost last week, but the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd tell you to make an offering to Hecate, goddess of the crossroads and shadows, to keep your dark twin in check. You decide to move, heading toward the Agora, the heart of Athens. The streets twist, and the lamp's light fades behind you. Your shadow should vanish in the darkness, but it doesn't. It clings to the ground. Faintly visible, as if lit by some unseen source. You quicken your pace, your sandals slapping against the stone. The Greeks had a term for this, unease, skyophobia, a fear of shadows, not widely documented, but whispered about in certain cults. They believed a shadow could betray you, revealing your sins to the gods, or worse, conspiring with them. As you near the Agora, the city's pulse grows louder, merchants haggling, poets reciting, dogs barking. Your shadow stretches across a wall, and for a moment, it's not alone. Another shape flickers beside it, humanoid but distorted, like a reflection in a warped mirror. You spin around, but no one's there. Your breath catches. Maybe it's just a trick of the torchlight, like those optical illusions you fall for on social media. But deep down, you know better. The Greeks didn't fear their shadows for nothing. You reach the Agora's edge, its open square bathed in moonlight. Your shadow pools at your feet, obedient for now. But the night is young, and Athens is full of secrets. You feel a pull, as if your shadow wants you to keep moving, to follow it somewhere darker, somewhere older. The air grows heavier, and a faint whisper brushes your ear, not words, but a sound like your own name, spoken by something that shouldn't have a voice. You're not sure if you're ready for what comes next, but your shadow is. It's waiting. You're still standing at the edge of the Agora, the moonlight casting a pale glow over Athens' bustling heart. The whispers from the alley cling to your mind, your shadow pooling at your feet like spilled ink. You try to shake the unease, focusing on the chatter of merchants and the clatter of carts. But your shadow feels heavier now, as if it's anchoring you to this moment. You take a step, and it follows too smoothly, too eagerly. The night air hums with something ancient, and you sense you're not alone in this story the Greeks feared to tell. Your feet carry you deeper into the city, toward the sacred precinct of Delphi, though it's not the Delphi you might expect. In Athens, smaller shrines to Apollo's oracle exist, tucked away in quiet corners. You're drawn to one now, a low stone building with ivy curling around its columns. The Greeks revered their oracles, especially the Pythia at Delphi, who spoke Apollo's will through cryptic visions. Historically, these priestesses were central to Greek life, consulted for everything from wars to marriages. But there's a lesser-known detail. Some oracles warned of shadows as omens, claiming they could sever a person's fate if crossed by the wrong light. You approach the shrine, its entrance dark except for a single brazier flickering inside. Your shadow stretches across the threshold, and you hesitate. It's just a shadow. You tell yourself nothing to fear. Like when you jump at your own reflection in a dark window? But the Greeks wouldn't agree. They believed shadows could commune with the divine, especially at sacred sites. Scholars still debate whether these beliefs reflected spiritual fears or early, psychological insights into projection and guilt. Inside, the air is thick with incense, curling in lazy spirals. A priestess sits on a stool, her eyes half closed, swaying as if listening to an unseen rhythm. Her voice, when it comes, is low and rasping like wind through dry leaves. You bring a shadow that listens, she says, not looking at you. Your stomach twists. You didn't ask a question, but she answers anyway. It knows your name, your fears. It waits for the gods to turn away. You glance at your shadow, sprawled across the stone floor. It seems to ripple, though the brazier's flame is steady. The priestess leans forward, her breath warm with the scent of laurel. In the time of Pericles, she murmurs, a man ignored his shadow's warning and vanished under a new moon. His shade walks still, seeking its twin. You swallow hard, unsure if she's reciting myth or history. The Greeks often blurred the two, especially when it came to the supernatural. You want to ask more? But your shadow shifts again, its edges blurring like smoke. The priestess hisses, clutching a charm at her neck. Leave an offering, she whispers, or it will follow you beyond this night. You fumble for a coin, tossing it into a clay bowl at her feet. The clink echoes too loud in the small space. You back away, your shadow trailing like a reluctant child. Outside, the night feels colder, the stars sharper. You try to laugh it off. Maybe the priestess is just good at theatrics, like those creepy fortune tellers at county fairs. But her words linger. It knows your name. Your shadow stretches across the street, and for a moment, its head tilts, though yours doesn't. You decide to keep moving, away from the shrine, toward the city's heart. The streets are quieter now, the symposium's winding down. Your shadow keeps pace, but it feels different, bolder, as if the oracle's warning gave it permission to act. You pass a statue of Athena, her bronze eyes glinting under torchlight. The Greeks believed Athena gifted humans wisdom, but also vigilance. They said she could see shadows for what they truly were. Fragments of the underworld tethered to the living but longing to break free. As you walk, the cobblestones grow uneven, leading you toward a narrower path. Your shadow flickers across a wall and you notice something new. Its edges are jagged, like torn cloth. You stop, heart pounding. The wall is smooth, the torchlight steady. There's no reason for it to look like that. You take a step, and your shadow seems to lean toward the darkness ahead, urging you forward. A faint sound follows, not quite footsteps, but a soft drag, like cloth over stone. You tell yourself it's just a stray cat, like the one that scared you half to death last Halloween. But you know it's not. The path leads to a small plaza, where a single olive tree stands, its branches swaying in a breeze you don't feel. Your shadow pools beneath it, darker than the night allows. The oracle's voice echoes in your mind. It waits for the gods to turn away. You're not sure what lies ahead, but your shadow does. It's pulling you deeper into Athens, into a story the Greeks feared to finish. You're standing in the small plaza, the olive tree's gnarled branches casting faint patterns across the cobblestones. Athens hums around you, its nocturnal pulse softer now, but your shadow feels like a weight, anchoring you to this moment. It sprawls beneath the tree, too dark, too sharp, its jagged edges pulsing faintly as if alive. The oracle's warning echoes in your mind. It knows your name. You sense your shadow is no longer just following. It's leading. You take a hesitant step, and it stretches toward the agora, Athens' bustling heart, urging you into its maze of stalls and shadows. The agora is quieter at this hour, but not silent. Torchlight flickers across the open square, where merchants pack away their wares and philosophers linger, debating in low tones. The air smells of roasted figs and dust, mingling with the tang of bronze from nearby statues. Historically, the agora was the epicenter of Greek life, political, commercial, and social. Here, Socrates questioned truth, and citizens voted on war and peace. But there's a stranger detail, rarely spoken of. Some Athenians believed the agora's shadows held memories, trapping echoes of past betrayals or unspoken oaths. Scholars still debate whether this stemmed from superstition or an early grasp of collective guilt, but the fear was real. You weave through the stalls, your sandals scuffing the stone. Your shadow glides ahead, unnaturally fluid, like ink spilled across parchment. You try to focus on the normalcy around you, a vendor, haggling over a clay pot, a stray dog sniffing at scraps. But your shadow draws your eye. It stretches across a wall, and for a moment its arms seem longer than yours, its fingers curling where yours are still. You blink and it's normal again. Just a trick of the light, right? It's like when you mistook your coat rack for an intruder last month. But the Greeks wouldn't dismiss it. They'd say your shadow is testing you, probing for weakness. You pause near a statue of Hermes, his winged sandals gleaming under torchlight. The Greeks revered Hermes as a guide of souls, but also a trickster who blurred the line between worlds. They believed he could stir shadows into mischief, especially in places like the agora, where human desires clashed. Your shadow pools at the statue's base, and you notice something chilling. It's not alone. Another shape flickers beside it, faint and humanoid, like a smudge on the stone. You spin around, heart racing, but the square is empty, save for a distant philosopher muttering to himself. The shape is gone, but your shadow seems pleased, its edges rippling as if laughing. You move on, trying to shake the unease. The agora's paths twist, leading you past altars and stoas, their columns casting long, jagged shadows. Your own shadow keeps pace, but it feels heavier, as if carrying a secret. You pass a small shrine to Hestia, goddess of the hearth, where a single flame burns. The Greeks believed Hestia's light could banish dark forces, but your shadow doesn't flinch. Instead, it stretches toward the flame, its edges curling like fingers reaching for warmth. You step back, your breath shallow. Maybe it's just the angle, like those creepy shadow puppets you tried making as a kid. But deep down, you know it's more than that. The air grows thicker, carrying a faint sound, not the agora's usual hum, but a soft rhythmic tap, like footsteps trailing just behind. You glance over your shoulder, but no one's there. The sound stops, then starts again, closer now. Your shadow stretches across the ground, and you swear it moves before you do, its head tilting as if listening. You quicken your pace, weaving through the agora's narrowing paths. The Greeks had a term for this dread, desidemonia, a fear of divine signs, often tied to omens like errant shadows. They believed such signs marked a soul out of favor with the gods. You reach a quieter corner of the agora, where a fountain bubbles softly, its water glinting under moonlight. Your shadow reflects in the pool, but it's wrong, its eyes seem to glow, though shadows shouldn't have eyes. You stumble back, heart pounding. The footsteps grow louder, now joined by a faint whisper, like your name spoken in a tongue you don't recognize. You want to run, but your shadow holds you, its darkness pooling around your feet like a trap. The agora, once vibrant, feels like a labyrinth now, and your shadow knows the way out, toward deeper in. You're standing by the fountain in the agora, its gentle trickle doing little to calm your racing heart. The moonlight glints off the water, but your shadow's reflection, those impossible, glowing eyes, lingers in your mind. The whispers and footsteps have faded, but the air feels heavier, as if Athens itself is holding its breath. Your shadow stretches across the cobblestones, no longer just a silhouette, but a presence, urging you to move. You don't want to follow, but your feet betray you, carrying you away from the fountain, deeper into the city's winding streets. The agora's hum grows distant, and your shadow leads you toward a place of quiet dread. The path narrows, flanked by stone walls, etched with faded offerings to the gods. You're heading toward a place the Greeks revered, a philosophical school, one tied to Plato, whose ideas shaped Western thought. Historically, Plato's Academy, founded around 387 BCE, was a hub for exploring truth, reason, and the soul. His allegory of the cave, where prisoners mistook shadows for reality, was a cornerstone of Greek philosophy. But there's a stranger detail. Rarely discussed, some of Plato's students whispered that the cave was just a metaphor. They claimed certain shadows could trap a soul, binding it to false realities. Scholars still debate whether these tales were symbolic or rooted in mystic fears of the time. You reach a low, unassuming building, its entrance shadowed by olive trees. Torchlight spills from within, casting jagged patterns on the ground. Your shadow merges with them, and for a moment, you can't tell where it begins or ends. You hesitate, but it stretches toward the doorway as if impatient. You step inside, the air cool and heavy with the scent of parchment and wax. The room is sparse, few stools, a table, and walls lined with scrolls. But the far wall is different. It's smooth, like a canvas, and your shadow looms across it, larger than life. Its edges pulse, and you swear it's watching you. You try to laugh it off, maybe it's just the torchlight playing tricks, like when you thought your curtains were swaying on a windless night. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say, "You've entered a place where shadows hold sway, where Plato's cave becomes more than a thought experiment." You take a step, and your shadow doesn't follow, it leads, sliding across the wall toward a darker corner of the room. A faint hum fills the air, not unlike the buzz of a fan left on too long, but deeper, like a voice trapped in stone. You follow, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. The wall seems to shift, its surface rippling like water. Your shadow is no longer just a shape, it's a scene, a flickering tableau of you standing in this very room, but different. In the shadow's version, you're not alone. Figures surround you, their forms vague but menacing, their hands reaching for something you can't see. You blink and the scene vanishes, leaving only your shadow, now still but somehow heavier. The Greeks believed shadows could reveal hidden truths, especially in places of learning where the mind was open to diviner, darker forces. The hum grows louder, and you notice a small altar in the corner dedicated to Athena, goddess of wisdom. Single oil lamp burns before it, its flame steady but weak. Your shadow stretches toward the altar, and as it crosses the flame, the light dims, as if your shadow is drinking it. You step back, your breath shallow. Maybe it's just a draft, like when your phone screen dims for no reason. Wait. But the air is still, and the flame gutters again. The Greeks had a term for this, phasmophobia, a fear of spectral signs, often linked to shadows that defied natural laws. You want to leave, but your shadow holds you, its edges creeping up the wall like vines. The room feels smaller now, the walls closing in, and the hum becomes a whisper. Not your name this time, but a question. What are you? You spin around, expecting someone behind you, but the room is empty. Your shadow, though, is different. It's sharper, its outline carved with impossible detail, like a relief in stone. You reach out, and your fingers graze the wall where your shadow lies. It's cold, unnaturally so, and for a moment, you feel it move beneath your touch. The whisper comes again, louder, and the torchlight flickers, casting new shadows that aren't yours. They dance across the wall, formless but alive, circling your own. You stumble back, heart pounding, and your shadow snaps back to your feet, as if reluctant to let you go. The room is a cave now, Plato's cave, and you're the prisoner, trapped by a shadow that knows more than you do. The doorway is still there, but your shadow points elsewhere, toward a darker path leading out of the school into the night. You have no choice but to follow. You step out of the philosophical school, the cool night air of Athens brushing against your skin like a sigh. The olive trees rustle softly, their leaves catching the moonlight. But your shadow feels like a chain dragging you forward. It stretches across the uneven cobblestones, its edges sharper than ever, as if honed by the strange encounter in Plato's cave. The whisper, "What are you?" still lingers, unanswered, and your shadow seems to pulse with a quiet defiance. You're no longer sure who's leading whom, but the path ahead winds toward the towering Acropolis, where the god's presence looms over the city. The Acropolis, even at this late hour, radiates power. Its marble temples gleam under the stars, a testament to Athens' devotion. Historically, the Greeks built these sanctuaries to honor their pantheon, believing the gods watched their every move. Offerings of wine, grain, and gold were made to appease divine tempers, especially Zeus, whose jealousy could spark calamity. But there's a lesser-known detail. Some Greeks feared the gods envied mortal shadows, seeing them as imperfect mirrors of divine essence. These shadows, they whispered, could provoke celestial wrath if left unchecked. Scholars still debate whether this reflected theological anxiety or a poetic metaphor for human hubris, but the dread was palpable. You climb the sloping path toward the Acropolis, your sandals scuffing against worn stone. Your shadow glides ahead, unnaturally long, as if eager to reach the sacred ground. The air grows heavier, laced with the scent of myrrh from distant altars. You try to focus on the mundane, the chirp of crickets, the faint glow of a guard's torch, but your shadow demands attention. It flickers across a low wall, and for a moment its head seems crowned, though you wear no such adornment. You pause, heart thudding. It's just a trick of perspective, right? Like when you thought your shadow looked like a superhero on your bedroom wall as a kid. But the Greeks wouldn't shrug it off. They'd say Zeus himself might be watching. You reach the Propylae, the grand gateway to the Acropolis. Its columns loom like silent sentinels, and your shadow stretches across the marble steps, merging with the darkness beyond. A faint hum fills the air, not unlike the buzz of a distant storm, and you feel a pressure as if the gods' eyes are fixed on you. The Greeks believed Zeus, king of the gods, could manipulate shadows to punish mortals who dared rival divine glory. Your shadow seems to sense this, its edges trembling, yet it doesn't retreat. Instead, it grows bolder, its outline sharpening as you pass through the gateway. Inside the Acropolis, the Parthenon stands majestic, its marble glowing faintly under the moon. You feel small beneath its grandeur, but your shadow doesn't. It sprawls across the temple's base, larger than it should be, its fingers stretching toward the sacred statues within. Try to pull back, but your feet move forward, as if your shadow is tugging you along. A faint crackle like static hums in your ears, and the air grows warm, heavy with the weight of divine scrutiny. You glance at your shadow, and it's different. Now its edges are jagged, like lightning frozen in place. You pass a small altar to Athena, a single flame flickering before her image. The Greeks revered Athena as the protector of Athens, but they also feared her wrath if her wisdom was challenged. Your shadow lingers near the flame, and the light dims, just as it did in the school. You step back, your breath shallow. Maybe it's just a coincidence, like when your phone battery dies at the worst moment. But the flame gutters again, and a low rumble echoes, not from the sky, but from the ground beneath you. Your shadow ripples, and for a moment it forms a shape knot, yours but a figure with a thunderbolt in its hand. The rumble fades, but the air remains charged. You move away from the altar, toward the edge of the Acropolis, where Athens sprawls below. Your shadow follows, but it's slower now, as if reluctant to leave the sacred ground. The Greeks had a term for this unease, theophobia, a fear of divine retribution. It's often tied to signs like errant shadows or sudden storms. They believed the gods could curse a mortal's shadow, binding it to their will. Your shadow seems to know this, its movements deliberate, almost mocking. You pause at the cliff's edge, the city's lights twinkling like stars. Your shadow stretches down the slope impossibly long, its edges blending with the darkness below. A whisper brushes your ear, not your name, but a command. Look, you glance at your shadow, and it's no longer alone. Other shapes flicker within it, vague but humanoid, their forms shifting like smoke. You spin around expecting a crowd, but the Acropolis is empty, save for you. Your shadow, though, is crowded, alive with secrets the gods don't want you to see. It's pulling you deeper, toward a truth you're not sure you're ready to face. You're standing at the edge of the Acropolis. The vastness of Athens sprawling below, its torchlights flickering like earthbound stars. The divine weight of the Parthenon lingers behind you, but your shadow feels heavier than ever. Its crowded shapes, those fleeting humanoid forms, shecked into your mind. The whisper look still hums in your ears, and your shadow stretches down the slope, pulling you away from the sacred heights. You follow, your steps hesitant, as the path descends into the city's quieter quarters, where artisans and craftsmen ply their trade. Your shadow seems to know the way, its edges sharp and purposeful, leading you to a place where mortal hands dared to challenge the gods. The streets grow narrow, lined with workshops where the scent of clay and molten bronze hangs thick. Athens was renowned for its artisans, whose sculptures and pottery adorned temples and homes. Historically, the 5th century BCE saw a golden age of Greek art, with masters like Phidias crafting statues that seemed to breathe. But there's a stranger detail. It's rarely spoken of. Some sculptors believed shadows could be trapped in stone, imbuing their works with a fragment of the soul. These practices were shunned, deemed hubris by priests, yet persisted in secret. Scholars still debate whether such beliefs were artistic metaphor or a mystic attempt to defy mortality. You stop before a small workshop, its wooden door ajar, spilling dim lamplight onto the street. Your shadow crosses the threshold first, merging with the darkness inside, and you feel a pull, as if it's impatient for you to follow. You step in, the air warm and dusty, heavy with the tang of chisels and wax. Tools litter the floor, and half-finished statues line the walls. Gods, heroes, nymphs, their marble eyes blank but watchful. Your shadow stretches across a slab of stone in the center, and for a moment, it seems to fit the slab as if carved there long ago. You blink, heart racing. Just an illusion, right? Like when you thought your shadow was dancing during a power outage? But the Greeks wouldn't dismiss it. They'd say you've stumbled into forbidden territory. A figure moves in the corner, a sculptor, his hands stained with clay, his eyes feverish under the lamplight. He doesn't acknowledge you, muttering to himself as he chisels a block of marble. The shadow holds the truth, he whispers, his voice raw.
It's more than us.
You glance at your shadow, now sprawling across the workshop's floor, its edges curling around the statues like a tide. The sculptor's words chill you. The Greeks believed artisans could anger the gods by creating too perfect likenesses, stealing divine essence. This man, though, seems to court that danger, his chisel chasing something darker. You step closer, and your shadow shifts, aligning with the marble slab again. The sculptor freezes, his eyes snapping to your shadow. It's awake, he hisses, dropping his chisel. Your shadow ripples, and you swear it forms a face not yours, but angular, with hollow eyes. The sculptor stumbles back, clutching a charm at his neck. I tried to trap it, he murmurs. But it traps us. You want to ask what he means, but your shadow moves again, its edges creeping up the slab, as if claiming it. The air grows thick, the lamp's flame guttering, casting wild shadows that aren't yours. The Greeks had a term for this dread: technophobia, a fear of craft turned against nature. Often linked to artisans who meddled with sacred forces. They believed such acts could awaken a shadow's will, binding it to the maker's soul. Your shadow seems to thrive here, its presence stronger, as if the sculptor's art has fed it. You back away, but the slab's surface shifts, reflecting not your shadow but a scene. You, standing in this workshop, surrounded by statues that move, their marble hands reaching for you. You blink, and it's gone, but the sculptor's eyes are wide with terror. Maybe it's just the light, you mutter, trying to laugh, like when you mistook a mannequin for a person at the mall. But the sculptor shakes his head, pointing at your shadow. It's chosen you, he says, his voice barely a whisper. The lamp dims further, and a low hum fills the room, like stone grinding against stone. Your shadow stretches toward the door, urging you to leave or to venture deeper into its story. The sculptor slumps against the wall, defeated, as your shadow leads you out, back into the night. The workshop's darkness clings to you, and the statue's blank eyes seem to follow, their own shadows whispering secrets you're not ready to hear. You step out of the sculptor's workshop, the night air of Athens sharp against your skin, cutting through the lingering dust and dread. The streets are quieter now, the city's pulse slowing as the stars burn brighter above. Your shadow stretches across the cobblestones, its edges still jagged from the workshop's strange energy, as if it absorbed the sculptor's forbidden art. The hum of grinding stone fades, but a new sound replaces it, a distant murmur of voices, rising and falling like a tide. Your shadow tugs you forward, leading you toward the theater of Dionysus, where Athens' tragedies and comedies come to life. It feels alive, eager, as if the stage is calling it home. The theater of Dionysus, nestled at the foot of the Acropolis, is a marvel of Greek culture. Historically, it hosted the city Dionysia, a festival where playwrights like Sophocles and Euripides premiered their works. weaving tales of gods and mortals for rapt audiences. These performances were sacred, believed to channel divine truths. But there is a lesser-known detail. Some Greeks thought shadows cast during a play could take on the roles of the characters, acting out their own spectral dramas. These shadows, they whispered, might linger, haunting the theater long after the actors left. Scholars still debate whether this was poetic superstition or a reflection of early theories on light and perception. But the fear was real. You approach the theater, its stone seats rising in a crescent around the circular stage. The moonlight bathes the scene, and a few late-night revelers linger, reciting lines or laughing softly. Your shadow spills across the orchestra, the flat performance space, and for a moment it seems to bow, as if taking its place in a play. You pause, heart skipping. Just a trick of the light, right? Like when your shadow stretched weirdly during a campfire story. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say your shadow is joining the chorus, ready to perform a tragedy of its own. You step onto the orchestra, the stone cooled beneath your sandals. The air hums with anticipation, as if the theater itself is watching. Your shadow stretches across the stage, and you notice it's not alone. Other shapes flicker within it, vague figures, their movements jerky, like actors in a silent play. You glance at the seats, expecting a crowd, but the revelers are gone, leaving only silence. Your shadow, though, is alive, its edges curling as if gesturing to an unseen audience. The Greeks believed Dionysus, god of wine and theater, could blur the line between reality and illusion, stirring shadows to act out mortal fears. A low chant begins, not from the seats, but from the air itself, a rhythmic cadence like a chorus warming up. Your shadow sways, and you feel a pull, as if it wants you to speak. You try to move, but your feet are heavy, rooted to the stage. The chant grows louder, and your shadow shifts, forming a scene. You, standing in this theater. But surrounded by masked figures, their eyes hollow, their hands raised in judgment. You blink, and the scene vanishes, but your shadow seems taller, its outline sharper, as if it's claimed the starring role. You stumble back, heart pounding. The Greeks had a term for this unease. Ekplexis, a fear of being overwhelmed by divine spectacle, often tied to theatrical omens like errant shadows. They believed such signs marked a soul, chosen by Dionysus or cursed by him. Your shadow seems to revel in this, its movements fluid, almost mocking. You try to laugh it off, maybe it's just the moonlight, like when you thought your shadow was waving during a late-night walk, but the chant returns, now a whisper. Play your part. The stage feels smaller, the seats looming closer, their shadows blending with yours. You notice a mask lying on the ground, its carved face frozen in a scream. Your shadow stretches toward it, and as it crosses the mask, the eyes seem to glow, though stone shouldn't shine. You step away, but your shadow lingers, its edges curling around the mask like a caress. The air grows thick, the chant now a pulse, and you feel ease not from the seats, but from your shadow itself. It's no longer content to follow. It's directing this play, and you're the reluctant actor. You turn to leave, but your shadow pulls you back, its darkness pooling at the stage's edge. The theater hums, alive with unseen watchers, and the mask's glow intensifies, casting new shadows that dance with yours. They form a chorus, their shapes twisting into forms you recognize, figures from the sculptor's slab. The Acropolis crowded darkness. Your shadow leads them, and you realize it's weaving a story you can't escape. The path out of the theater is there, but your shadow points deeper, toward a darkness where the play continues, and you have no choice but to follow. You stumble out of the theater of Dionysus, the chant of the unseen chorus fading into the night air, but its rhythm lingers in your pulse. The stone seats and glowing mask are behind you, yet your shadow feels heavier, as if it's carrying the weight of the spectral play it tried to stage. It stretches across the uneven path, its edges sharp and restless, pulling you back toward the Acropolis. The moonlight bathes Athens in a silver haze, and the great hill looms above, its temples glowing faintly, calling you to a place where the gods' whispers are louder, and shadows hold ancient secrets. You follow your steps unsteady, as if the night itself is guiding you deeper into this tale. The Acropolis is more than a landmark. It's the heart of Athenian spirituality. Historically, its sanctuaries built in the 5th century BCE, where citizens sought divine favor through rituals and sacrifices. The Parthenon, dedicated to Athena, was a symbol of the city's power and piety. But there's a stranger detail, rarely mentioned. Some Athenians believed the Acropolis shadows were sacred, imbued with the god's presence, especially at night when mortal eyes were few. These shadows, they whispered, could reveal hidden truths, sore concealed dangerous ones. Scholars still debate whether this reflected religious awe or an early understanding of light's symbolic power, but the reverence was undeniable. You climbed the familiar path, the Propoleus columns rising like guardians, naturally fluid as if drawn to the sacred ground. The air is thick with the scent of pine and faint incense, and a low hum vibrates through the stones like the earth breathing. You try to focus on the beauty, the marble's glow, the stars above, but your shadow demands your gaze. It stretches across a low wall, and for a moment, its form shifts. Not mirroring your shape, but forming a silhouette of a cloaked figure, its head bowed. You freeze, heart racing, just a trick of the moonlight, right? Like when your shadow looked like a stranger during a foggy evening walk. But the Greeks wouldn't dismiss it. They'd say the Acropolis shadows are never truly yours. You pass through the gateway, the Parthenon's grandeur unfolding before you. But your shadow veers away, leading you to a quieter corner, where a small, unmarked altar stands, half hidden by wild thyme. The Greeks often built such altars for minor deities or forgotten spirits, places where rituals were performed in secret. Your shadow pools before it, darker than the night allows, its edges curling like smoke. You kneel, drawn by an instinct you don't understand, and notice faint carvings on the altar's spirals and eyes, symbols tied to Hecate, goddess of shadows and crossroads. The hum grows louder, and the air feels charged, as if the altar is awake. Your shadow shifts, and you see it again. The cloaked figure, now clearer, its hands raised as if an offering. You glance around, expecting a priestess or guard, but the Acropolis is silent, save for the wind's soft moan. The Greeks had a term for this dread: Mysterian phobia, fear of sacred mysteries revealed without preparation, often linked to omens like shifting shadows on holy ground. They believed such signs marked a mortal chosen or cursed by forces beyond the gods. Your shadow seems to revel in this, its movements deliberate, as if performing a ritual you've stumbled into. You touch the altar, it's stone cold and slick, and a faint pulse runs through your fingers like a heartbeat. Your shadow ripples, and the cloaked figure within it moves, stepping out of your shadow to stand beside the altar. You stumble back, breath shallow. Maybe it's just exhaustion, like when you thought your reflection blinked in a dark mirror. But the figure remains, its form translucent, its eyes hollow, but fixed on you. A whisper brushes your ear, not words, but a sensation urging you to stay. Your shadow, now separate, stretches toward the figure, merging with it. And the altar's carvings glow faintly, as if lit from within. The hum becomes a chant, low and rhythmic, like the theater's chorus, but older, heavier. The figure gestures, and your shadow reforms at your feet, but it's different. Its edges are frayed, like torn cloth, and it feels alive, pulsing with the altar's energy. You want to run, but your shadow holds you, its darkness wrapping around your ankles like roots. The Acropolis, once a beacon, feels like a trap now, its glow hiding secrets your shadow knows too well. The path down is there, but your shadow points deeper, toward a crevice in the hill where no light reaches. And you know you must follow, into the heart of this haunted night. You step away from the hidden altar, the Acropolis glow dimming as you descend into a narrow crevice in the hill. The air grows cooler, laced with the damp scent of earth and moss, and the distant hum of the sacred ground fades, replaced by a heavy silence. Your shadow clings to you, its frayed edges pulsing from the strange ritual, as if it's absorbed the altar's ancient energy. The cloaked figure's hollow eyes linger in your mind, and your shadow feels less like a companion now, more like a guide with its own agenda. It stretches across the rocky path, leading you deeper into Athens' underbelly, toward a place where words wield power as sharp as any blade. You emerge into a small courtyard, tucked beneath the Acropolis shadow, where philosophers often gathered in secret. Historically, Athens was a crucible for intellectual debate, with figures like Socrates and the Sophists shaping thought through relentless questioning. These informal gatherings away from the agora's bustle were where ideas clashed most fiercely. But there's a lesser-known detail. Some sophists, masters of rhetoric, believed shadows could influence arguments carrying the weight of unspoken truths or divine judgments. These ideas were dismissed as esoteric, yet whispered about in certain circles. Scholars still debate whether this reflected metaphysical speculation or an early grasp of psychological projection.
Ow.
But the unease was real. The courtyard is empty, save for a single olive tree and a low stone bench, its surface worn smooth by years of debate. Torchlight spills from a nearby wall, casting your shadow across the ground, and it seems to settle as if claiming the space. You sit on the bench, the stone cold beneath you, and feel a shift in the air, like the prelude to a storm. Your shadow stretches toward the tree, its edges sharpening, and for a moment it forms a silhouette not of you, but of a robed figure, gesturing as if speaking. You blink, heart skipping. Just a trick of the light, right? It's like when your shadow looked like it was arguing with you during a late-night study session. But the Greeks wouldn't shrug it off. They'd say your shadow is joining a debate you haven't been invited to. A voice cuts through the silence, not yours, but low and measured, like a philosopher weighing each word. What is a shadow but the soul's echo? It asks, though no one is there. You glance at your shadow, now sprawling across the courtyard, and it shifts again, forming two figures, one robed, the other vague but familiar, your own outline, but distorted, as if pleading. The voice continues, "If a shadow speaks, does it lie?" The air grows thick, and you feel eyes, not from the courtyard, but from your shadow itself. The Greeks believed sophists could weave spells with words, stirring shadows to reveal or conceal truths the gods preferred hidden. Your shadow moves, its figures enacting a silent debate, their gestures sharp and urgent. You try to stand, but your body feels heavy, as if your shadow is anchoring you. The voice grows louder, now a chorus of overlapping tones. Is it yours, or does it belong to the divine? You see it now, a scene within your shadow, flickering like a dream. You, standing in this courtyard, facing a robed figure who points at your shadow, accusing it of betrayal. You blink, and the scene vanishes, but your shadow seems taller, its edges curling like smoke. The Greeks had a term for this dread: logophobia, a fear of words turned against reason, often linked to debates that crossed into the supernatural. You try to laugh it off, maybe it's just the night playing tricks, like when you thought your podcast was talking back to you. But the voice returns, sharper now. Ask it what it wants. Your shadow pulses, and the robed figure within it turns, its eyes hollow but fixed on you. You open your mouth to speak, but no words comely. A whisper from your shadow. It's not in your voice, but in a tongue you don't know, ancient and cold. The torchlight flickers, casting new shadows that aren't yours, circling the courtyard like silent judges. Your shadow leads them, its movements deliberate, as if winning the argument. The air grows heavier, the voice fading into a low hum, like a fan left running in an empty room. Your shadow shifts back to your shape, but it feels wrong, its edges frayed, as if the debate has torn something loose. You stand, heart pounding, and notice a faint inscription on the bench: "Know thy shadow, lest it know thee." The courtyard feels smaller now, the tree's branches looming like fingers. Your shadow stretches toward a dark alley leading away from the Acropolis, urging you to follow. The debate is over, but its questions linger, and your shadow knows the answers. You have no choice but to move deeper into this haunted night. Section 10. The shadow's stolen voice. You step out of the philosopher's courtyard. The inscription, "Know thy shadow, lest it know thy burning in your mind." The narrow alley ahead is shrouded in darkness, the Acropolis glow a distant memory as Athens' nocturnal hush envelops you. Your shadow stretches across the uneven stones, its frayed edges pulsing with the weight of the debate's unanswered questions. The whisper in that ancient, unfamiliar tongue lingers. It's not yours, but spoken through your shadow, as if it's claimed a voice of its own. It leads you now, its movements deliberate, pulling you deeper into the city's labyrinthian heart, where the air feels alive with secrets. Athens was a city of voices, poets, orators, and priests, all vying to shape its soul. Rhetorically, The 5th century BCE saw oral tradition dominate, with spoken words carrying divine weight, especially in rituals to appease gods like Apollo or Demeter. But there's a lesser-known detail. Some Greeks believed shadows could steal a person's voice, using it to speak truths or lies meant for the gods alone. These tales were rare, dismissed as superstition by most, but clung to in certain mystic cults. Scholars still debate whether this reflected fears of losing agency or an early metaphor for inner conflict. But the terror was real. You follow the alley, its walls closing in, the scent of damp earth mingling with faint traces of incense. Your shadow glides ahead, unnaturally smooth, as if it knows this path by heart. The torchlight from a nearby shrine casts your shadow against a cracked wall. Bash! And for a moment, it's not just yours, it's a figure, tall and cloaked, its mouth open, as if speaking. You freeze, heart pounding, just a trick of the shadows, right? Like when your silhouette looked like it was singing during a karaoke night. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say, your shadow is no longer content to follow it, is claiming its own role in this tale. The alley opens into a small, forgotten square, where a single cypress tree stands, its branches swaying in a breeze you don't feel. Your shadow pools beneath it, darker than the night allows, and the whisper returns not in your ears but in your chest, a low, guttural hum in that same ancient tongue. You try to speak, to call out, but your throat tightens, and the words come out wrong, harsh, unfamiliar, like the voice from the courtyard. Your shadow ripples, and you see it, a scene within its darkness, flickering like a memory. It's you standing in this square, but your mouth moves without sound. While your shadow speaks, its words echoing in the air. You stumble back, breath shallow. The Greeks believed voices were tied to the soul, and a shadow that spoke was a sign of divine or demonic interference. Your shadow seems to thrive here, its edges sharpening, as if the square's forgotten energy feeds it. You notice a small stone marker at the tree's base, etched with symbols you don't recognize, tied to chthonic deities like Persephone, who ruled the underworld's shades. The whisper grows louder, now forming words you almost understand. Mine to speak, yours to hear. Your shadow stretches toward the marker, and the symbols glow faintly, as if answering. The Greeks had a term for this dread: phonophobia, fear of voices, not one's own, often linked to omens like a shadow speaking in sacred spaces. They believed such signs marked a soul tethered to forces beyond the mortal realm. Try to laugh it off. Maybe it's just the wind, like when you thought your neighbor's radio was chanting your name. But the whisper sharpens, and your shadow shifts, forming the cloaked figure again, its mouth moving in sync with the voice. You clap a hand over your mouth, but the sound continues, coming from the ground, from your shadow itself. The air grows thick, the cypress swaying faster, though the night is still. Your shadow pulses, and the scene within it changes, you now silent. While the cloaked figure speaks to a crowd of shades, their eyes hollow, their hands reaching for you. You blink, and it's gone, but your shadow feels heavier, as if it's stolen something vital. You want to run, but your voice falters, and your shadow holds you, its darkness wrapping around your feet like a snare. The square feels like a stage now, and your shadow is the orator, weaving a tale you can't interrupt. You force yourself to move, stumbling toward an archway at the square's edge. Your shadow follows, but it's slower, as if reluctant to leave this place where it found its voice. The whisper fades, but the ancient tongue lingers in your mind, a riddle you can't solve. Your shadow stretches ahead, pointing to a darker path, where the city's pulse grows faint and the night grows deep. It's leading you somewhere older, somewhere your voice might not return, and you have no choice but to follow into the silence it commands. You step through the archway, the whisper of your shadow's ancient voice still clawing at your thoughts. The path ahead is a narrow, winding street, its cobblestones worn smooth by centuries of unseen feet. The air feels heavier now, thick with the scent of myrrh and something older earth. Decay, the kind of smell that lingers in forgotten places. Your shadow stretches before you, its edges sharper than they should be, as if it's drinking in the darkness. The words it spoke in the square, mine to speak, yours to hear, loop in your mind. You can shake the feeling that it's not just leading you, it's summoning something. The street curves and you hear it. A low, harmonic hum, like a choir buried in the wind. It's not coming from any one direction, it's everywhere, vibrating through the stones, the walls, even your bones. Your shadow ripples, and for a moment, it seems to multiply, splitting into faint, ghostly outlines that flicker against the walls. You blink hard, trying to clear your eyes. Just a trick of the light, right? Like when you swore your shadow did a little dance during that late-night walk home, but this isn't funny. The Greeks would say you're not alone anymore. An unseen chorus has joined you. Athens was a city of song as much as speech. In the 5th century BCE, choruses were central to festivals like the Dionysia, their voices weaving myths into the city's soul. But there's a stranger detail. Some believed the dead could form their own chorus, a spectral assembly that sang through shadows to guide or curse the living. These tales were whispered in the shadows of temples, rarely recorded but clung to by those who feared the dark. Scholars still debate whether this was a metaphor for guilt or a literal belief in shades with voices, but the fear was palpable. The hum grows louder, forming words you can't quite grasp, like a language you forgot in a dream. Your shadow glides ahead, its form steady while the ghostly outlines pulse in rhythm with the chorus. You pass a crumbling wall, its surface etched with faint figures' cloaked shapes, mouths open, hands raised. They're not carvings, they're too fluid, like shadows trapped in stone. Your shadow pauses, and the chorus sharpens, singing in that same ancient tongue your shadow claimed. It's not just one voice, knots dozens, layered, rising and falling like waves. You feel it in your chest, a pressure that makes your breath catch. You try to speak, to drown it out, but your voice is a rasp, barely audible. The Greeks believed a chorus could bind a soul, tying it to a story it couldn't escape. Your shadow seems to revel in this, its edges curling upward, as if smiling. You notice a small alcove ahead, a niche in the wall holding a cracked clay lamp, its flame barely alive. The light casts your shadow against the opposite wall, and it's not alone. The ghostly outlines are clearer, no figures, tall and cloaked, their mouths moving in sync with the chorus. They're singing what your shadow spoke, and you swear one of them turns to look at you. Your heart races, and you try to laugh it off. Maybe it's just the city playing tricks. Like when you thought your phone was buzzing with ghost notifications. But the chorus doesn't stop. It's relentless, pulling you forward, and your shadow moves with purpose, leading you to a wider street where the air feels charged like before a storm. The ghostly figures fade, but their voices linger, now coming from the ground, the walls, the sky. Your shadow stretches across the street, and within it, you see a flicker scene like in the square. It's you, standing silent, while the cloaked figures sing, their hands weaving shadows that wrap around you like chains. The Greeks had a term for this, catharsis, a purging through art or ritual, but some said it could trap a soul if the chorus belonged to the dead. You stumble, your legs heavy, as the chorus grows softer, more intimate, like a whisper meant only for you. Your shadow pauses at a crossroads, where 3 paths diverge, each darker than the last. The lamp's light is gone, and the chorus hums a single note, endless, eternal. Your shadow points to the leftmost path, and the scene within it shifts. You now part of the chorus, your mouth open, singing words you don't understand. You force yourself to move, choosing the path, though every step feels like wading through water. The chorus follows, its voices blending with your shadows. You realize it's not just leading you, it's claiming you, weaving you into its song. The street narrows again, and the walls seem to pulse as if alive. Your shadow feels heavier, its darkness wrapping around you, and the chorus sings your name, not your real one. But something older, something it knows. You want to scream, but your voice is theirs now, and the path ahead is all that remains, pulling you deeper into Athens' cursed heart. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path you've chosen twists deeper into the city, the walls closing in until they're barely wider than your shoulders. The air is cool, damp, carrying the faint temps of iron and stone, like a cave untouched by sunlight. Your shadow stretches ahead, its edges fraying into the cracks of the cobblestones, as if it's seeping into the earth itself. The chorus from the crossroads lingers, a faint hum now, but it's still there, woven into the rhythm of your steps. Your shadow moves with a purpose you don't share, pulling you into what feels like the heart of a labyrinth where Athens' ancient pulse beats strongest. The name it sangers, but not your Zikos in your mind, a riddle you can't unravel. This part of Athens feels older than the Acropolis, older than the gods themselves. In the 5th century BCE, labyrinthine streets were common in sacred districts, designed to confuse evil spirits or trap wandering shades. But there's a stranger detail. Some believe these mazes were built to mirror the underworld. Each turn, a step closer to Hades' realm. These stories were shared in hushed tones, often by priests of chthonic deities like Hecate. Scholars still debate whether the labyrinths were symbolic or literal gateways to the dead, but the fear of being lost forever was real. Your shadow glides over a patch of uneven stone, and you notice carving spirals, eyes hand-etched into the walls. They're faint, worn by time, but your shadow seems to trace them, its darkness pooling in their grooves. You try to focus, to keep your bearings, but the path twists again, and the walls seem to shift, like a dream you can't control. You laugh nervously. Maybe it's just the jet lag, like when you got lost in that airport and swore the signs were moving. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say your shadow knows this maze better than you do. The air grows colder, and the hum of the chorus sharpens. Now a single voice, your shadows, speaking in that ancient tongue. It's not whispering anymore. It's commanding, words you almost understand. Follow or be lost. Your shadow stretches longer, its form distorting into something humanoid, its head tilted as if listening. You see it then, within its darkness. A flicker, a scene like before. It's you, running through this labyrinth, but your shadow is ahead, its arms outstretched, blocking every exit. The scene shifts, and now it's centuries ago cloaked figures, your shadows merging into one, sealing something in this maze. You stumble, your hand grazing the wall. The stone is warm, pulsing faintly, and your shadow snaps back, its edges sharp again. The Greeks believed labyrinths could trap not just bodies but souls, especially if a shadow led the way. You notice a small alcove, a broken statue inside Hecate, her 3 faces staring blankly. Your shadow pools at her feet, and the scene flickers again. You standing before her, your shadow kneeling, offering something you can't see. The chorus hums louder, and you feel it a tug, like your shadow is pulling you into the vision. You pull back, heart pounding, and the path splits again. Your shadow points left, but you hesitate. The Greeks had a term for this, aporia, a state of doubt where no path feels right, often tied to encounters with the divine. You try to joke, maybe it's just like choosing a Netflix show, stuck in decision paralysis. But the air thickens, and your shadow grows darker, its edges curling like smoke. The scene within it changes. You now lost your shadow walking alone, free while you fade into the walls. You force yourself to move, taking the left path, though your legs feel heavy, like wading through sand. The walls are closer now, the carvings more vivid, eyes that seem to follow you, hands reaching out. Your shadow moves faster, almost eagerly, and the chorus returns, softer but relentless, singing a melody that feels like a trap. The path narrows further, and you see it, a dead end, a stone wall etched with a single symbol, an eye, glowing faintly. Your shadow stops, and the scene within it solidifies, you staring at the eye. While your shadow merges with it, becoming something else entirely, the chorus fades, but the hum remains vibrating in your chest. Your shadow feels alive, its darkness wrapping around you. And you realize it's not just leading you its home in this labyrinth's heart where it was born. The path behind you is gone, and the eye on the wall watches, waiting for you to decide. Follow or be lost forever. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The glowing eye on the stone wall pulses once, then fades, leaving only darkness and the weight of your shadow's presence. You turn, expecting the path behind you. But there's nothing, just a smooth expanse of stone, as if the labyrinth has sealed you in. Your shadow stretches across the ground, its edges unnaturally crisp, pooling toward a low, Cracked altar at the chamber's center. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of ash, and something metallic, like blood long dried. The hum of the chorus is gone, replaced by a silence so deep it feels like a presence. Your shadow moves, circling the altar, and you feel it a demand. Unspoken but clear, it wants something from you. This chamber feels like a wound in Athens' heart. Historically, the Greeks built altars to chthonic gods Persephone. Hades, Hecatean, hidden places, offering sacrifices to appease the underworld's shades. But there's a lesser-known detail. Some altars were said to bind shadows, forcing them to serve as messengers between worlds. These rituals were rare, conducted by secretive cults, their details lost to time. Scholars still debate whether these altars were literal or symbolic. A way to confront one's own darkness, but the dread they inspired was undeniable. You step closer to the altar, its surface etched with spirals and jagged lines, like a map of the labyrinth itself. Your shadow glides over it, and for a moment, it's not just a shadow, it's a figure, cloaked, its head bowed as if in prayer. You blink, and it's gone. But the altar feels alive. It's stone warm under your touch. You try to laugh, maybe. It's just the vibes, like when you swore that creepy thrift store mirror was watching you. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say your shadow is bargaining with forces older than the city. A faint glow flickers within your shadow, and you see it, a scene, vivid, inescapable. It's you, standing at this altar, your hands outstretched. Offering something, a lock of hair, a drop of blood, you can't tell. The cloaked figure from before stands opposite, its shadow merging with yours, and the altar pulses, accepting the gift. The scene shifts, and now it's ancient hooded priests, their shadows pooling into one, chanting words that make the air tremble. Your shadow ripples, and the demand grows stronger. Give or be taken. You pull your hand back, heart racing. The Greeks believed sacrifices tied a soul to the divine, but a shadow's offering could trap it forever. You notice a small niche in the altar, holding a shard of obsidian, its edge glinting like a blade. Your shadow stretches toward it, and the scene flickers again. You holding the shard. While your shadow watches, its form growing larger, more solid. The silence presses harder, and you feel it a tug, like your shadow is pulling at something vital, something you can't name. You try to step back, but your feet feel rooted, and your shadow circles faster, its edges curling like flames. The Greeks had a term for this: thanatopsis, a meditation on death. Often linked to moments when the mortal and divine collided. You try to joke maybe it's just like forgetting your lines in a school play. All eyes on you. But the altar hums, and your shadow stops, its form splitting into two. One yours. One the cloaked figure, its eyes hollow, its hand reaching for the shard. The air shifts, and a faint breeze carries the scent of earth, breaking the silence. Your shadow merges again, but it feels heavier, as if it's taken something from the altar. The scene within it changes. You, now kneeling, while the cloaked figure stands, holding the shard, its shadow swallowing yours. You force yourself to move, stumbling toward the chamber's edge, where a narrow crack in the stone hints at an exit. Your shadow follows, but it's slower, as if reluctant to leave this place where it grew strong. The crack widens, revealing a darker path, and your shadow points, its demand clear. Give or follow. The altar's warmth lingers on your skin, and the obsidian shard glints, tempting warning. You step toward the crack, the labyrinth's heart behind you. Da-da-da. But the weight of your shadow feels like a chain, pulling you back to the altar of shades. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You slip through the crack in the stone, leaving the altar's oppressive warmth behind. The path beyond is a tunnel, its walls slick with moisture, the air sharp with the scent of wet earth and something ancient moss. Bone secrets. Your shadow stretches ahead, its edges fraying into the darkness. But it feels different now, heavier, as if the altar's ritual left a mark. The silence is absolute, broken only by the faint drip of water somewhere deep in the tunnel. Each step echoes, and you sense it. You're approaching something final, a threshold Athens' myths warned you to avoid. The demand from the altar, give or follow, lingers, and your shadow seems to know the way. This tunnel feels like a descent into myth itself. In the 5th century BCE, Greeks believed certain caves and tunnels were gateways to the underworld, sacred to gods like Hades and Persephone, where mortals face their final reckoning. But there is a stranger detail. Some whispered of thresholds where shadows could sever their bond with the living, becoming shades in their own right. These tales were rare, shared by mystics, and feared by all. Scholars still debate whether these thresholds were literal or metaphors for confronting one's mortality. But the terror of crossing them was real. The tunnel narrows, forcing you to duck, and your shadow glides effortlessly, its form sharpening into the cloaked figure again. You see it within its darkness, a flicker, a scene. It's you, standing before a vast gate, its surface etched with eyes and hands, while your shadow bows, offering the obsidian shard from the altar. The gate pulses, and your shadow grows, swallowing your form. You blink, and the scene shifts, sentient figures, their shadows merging with the gate, vanishing into its darkness. You try to laugh, maybe. It's just like getting spooked by a haunted house jump scare. But the Greeks wouldn't laugh. They'd say your shadow is ready to cross where you cannot. The tunnel opens into a cavern, its ceiling lost in shadow, the ground sloping toward a massive stone gate. It's the one from the vision, its surface alive with carvings that seem to move, eyes watching, hands reaching. Your shadow pools before it, and the air grows cold, heavy, like a storm about to break. You feel it a pull, like the gate is drawing you in, and your shadow ripples, its voice returning, soft but commanding. Cross or remain. The words aren't in your ears, they're in your chest, your bones. You step closer, and the gate hums, its carvings glowing faintly. The Greeks believed crossing an underworld threshold severed a soul's ties to the living, leaving only the shade behind. Your shadow stretches toward the gate, and the scene flickers again. You, reaching for the gate while your shadow stands free, its form solid, human. The cloaked figure appears beside it, nodding, as if approving. You try to pull back, but your feet move forward, drawn by a force you can't name. The Greeks had a term for this, necrosis, a state of being neither dead nor alive, caught between worlds. You try to joke? Maybe it's just like forgetting your keys and getting locked out, stuck in limbo. But the gate's hum grows louder, and your shadow splits, one part yours, one the cloaked figure, its hand on the gate. The air crackles, and the scene changes. You, passing through the gate, while your shadow stays, its eyes glowing, free at last. You force yourself to stop. Inches from the gate, your breath shallow. The carvings pulse, and your shadow's voice sharpens. Cross or lose me. The cavern feels alive, the gate's eyes locked on you. Your shadow feels like a stranger now, its darkness no longer yours. You notice a faint light behind you, a crack in the cavern's wall, hinting at dawn beyond. The gate hums louder, and your shadow presses against it, its form almost solid. You feel the pull, the threshold's promise, but the light calls too, a whisper of escape. Your shadow turns, its eyes meeting yours, and for the first time you see it not just a shadow, but something ancient, something that knows you better than you know yourself. You step back, toward the light, and the gate's hum fades, but your shadow lingers. Its voice a final plea, cross or forget. The cavern trembles, and you turn, running toward the crack, the threshold behind you. Your shadow's weight still clinging to your soul. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the shadows of ancient Athens, where the Greeks feared their own silhouettes might betray them. Picture yourself now, standing in a quiet alley, the city's hum fading as dawn's first light creeps over the horizon. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of olive groves and stone, but there's something else await, like eyes watching from the dark. Your shadow stretches beside you, softer now, but still heavy with the night's secrets. You've faced its voice, its visions, its pull toward a threshold you barely escaped. You're probably not going to make it out of this one unscathed, but let's see how far you get. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is there. I love knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stumble through the crack in the cavern's wall, the gate's hum fading behind you. The air shifts, lighter now, carrying the faint warmth of morning. The path ahead is a gentle slope, its stones dusted with pale light filtering through unseen gaps above. Your shadow trails you, its edges blurred, no longer sharp or commanding. The weight of its voice, its demand to cross or forget lingers, but it's quieter now, like a dream slipping away. The tunnel widens, and you see it. An opening, where Athens' skyline glows faintly. The Acropolis, a silhouette against the dawn. This moment feels like a release, a return to the world, you know. In the 5th century BCE, dawn was sacred to the Greeks, a time when Apollo's light banished the shades and restored order. But there's a stranger detail. Some believed shadows weakened at dawn, their power tied to the night's darkness. These tales were whispered by farmers and poets, rarely taken seriously by the elite. Scholars still debate whether this reflected hope in renewal or fear of what shadows remembered. But the relief of sunrise was universal. You step toward the opening, the city's sounds returning distant voices, the clatter of carts, the soft bleat of goats. Your shadow moves with you, but it's different, softer, almost hesitant. You see a flicker within it, a final scene. You, standing in this dawn. While the cloaked figure fades, its eyes closing, its form dissolving into light. The vision fades, and your shadow is just a shadow again, stretching across the stones, ordinary yours. You try to laugh, maybe it's just like waking up from a nightmare, heart racing but safe. But the Greeks would say your shadow hasn't forgotten, it's merely resting. The path opens into a quiet grove, olive trees swaying gently, their leaves catching the first rays of sun. Your shadow pools beneath you, faint now, blending with the earth. The air is warm, scented with dew and blossoms, and the weight of the night lifts, like a fog burning away. Feel it, your voice, your soul, yours again. The Greeks believed dawn was a promise, a chance to reclaim what the night stole. Your shadow feels light, but you sense it, a trace of the altar. The gate, the chorus, tucked deep within its darkness, waiting. You sit against a tree, the bark cool against your back. The city wakes slowly, its pulse steady, and your shadow shrinks as the sun rises. You try to joke, maybe it's just like oversleeping and missing the bus, a little disoriented but fine. But the memory of your shadow's voice, its ancient tongue, lingers, soft as a whisper. You close your eyes, and the grove fades, the world softening, blurring at the edges. The night's terror feels distant now, a story you might tell, but not tonight. Your breath slows, the sun's warmth wrapping around you. The Greeks had a term for this, eudaimonia, a state of flourishing, found in moments of peace after struggle. Your shadow is still, a faint outline, no longer leading, no longer speaking. The city hums, and you drift, the line between you and the world growing thin. You're safe for now. The dawn your shield, the night a memory. Let the light hold you, let the shadows rest, and let sleep carry you gently, away from Athens, away from the dark. Your shadow fades, the grove glows, and you're gone, drifting, safe.